In this video, we will have a look at how to connect to Backendless and save or show all our contacts in a list view. So for a list view, you obviously need on your layout file, you need your list view. You need to have an ID for your list view. And if you go to your activity, you need to declare it and you need to set up the list view. That's the first step you'll need to do. So we've already done that. The second step is you must have a custom class that will work with every item in your list view. And basically we're going to show contacts in the list view. So we need a contact class, which we already have. This is also our table online. If you have this all set up, then the next thing you'll need is a custom layout file for every item in your list view. So what we'll need to do now is to create a custom layout file that will represent every item inside of your list view. So let's do that. We're going to go to on your layout folder, resources layout. You're going to right click, say new layout resource file. I'm going to change the root element to a linear layout, and the file name I will call row_layout. Now please make sure that you have all the letters that you typed here is lowercase, and you may use the underscore. It's in the resources folder, very sensitive folder, so make sure that everything is lowercase. So I named it row_layout. Then say OK. All right, now in this layout, you can design how every row element should look like. So what we'll do here, I'm going to add, firstly, we'll add a layout, and I'm going to add a horizontal linear layout. So I'm going to drag in the horizontal linear layout there, click on it, make sure that the height is set to wrap content. Then I'm going to drag in a text view. There's the text view. Then after that text view, I'm going to drag in another layout. So I'm going to drag in a vertical layout this time again. So make sure it's in this one, but it's after your text view. So you'll have a linear layout, and the best way to do this is to not look at what's going on in your layout, but look at your component tree. So you have the root vertical layout, you've got the linear layout directly after that, that's horizontal, and look at the indentation there, and then you have a text view with a linear layout. Inside of this linear layout, we're going to drag in two more text views. So make sure you go into that one, and again into that one. Okay, so make sure that your indentations look like this. Right, so now on the screen it doesn't look very nice. So we're going to set that up now. So for the, let me just see, for this text view, we go into the text. So that's basically this text view. So you can see there's a linear layout, another linear layout, and then there's a text view and a linear layout. So I'm talking about this text view and linear layout. So for the text view, I'm going to set the width property to 0 dp. But you can see the weight property is 1. So for the linear layout, I'm going to also set the width property to 0 dp and make the weight property 8. Okay, so what we did now is to say on the screen in the linear layout that's horizontal, we've got two components. Although inside of this linear layout, there's another two components. But inside this linear layout, there's only two, the text view and the linear layout. On the screen, there's 1 plus 8, 9 spaces on the screen. This one takes up 1 of them. This one takes up 8 of them. So if you look at your design, you can see that this text view takes up 1 out of the 9 spaces, and that one takes up the rest. Okay, now let's go into this text view, and what I want to do here is to just give it the text A. I'm going to explain later on. Just give it the text A. I'm going to go down and set the gravity to center horizontal, and then I'm going to go down and set the style to bold and the text size to, let's make it 48. So just type it there, 48. So we'll have a nice A there. So basically for every contact, let's say that guy's name is John, we'll show a J there and then show the contact's name. Okay, so that's the first one. We're going to have a big character there and just leave it as an A. We will change it later on. Then in your linear layout, let's click on the first text view there, and we're going to make that one a bit bigger and also bold. So I'm going to have it bold, and let's make this text size, let's leave it at 18. Okay, and keep that one small. So let's click on the top text view there. I'm going to add the margin on the left of 10, maybe even more, 15. And then the one at the top, let's make it 10. So that is beginning to look like something. So on the left we have 15, so click on that text view, and on the left also we'll have a 15 there to have them aligned. So this is what we want for our layout. So we'll have there the first character of the name, there will be the name, and that will be, let's say, the mail or the email. Now let's set the background for this one as well. So let's click on this linear layout that's horizontal, which is basically your whole layout there. And we want to set the background color there as a color, let's make it a primary color. And then also on these texts, I'm going to select all, just make sure you only select the text views. And then I'm going to set the text color to be a white. So it's a hash with 4 Fs. Right, so we've got a white there, and then click on that linear layout again, and let's change the margin of all to, let's try 5. Yeah, let's try 5. Okay, so it will look like this. Now it's also important that we go to every text view that we want to set, and I'm going to say TV char for that one. That will show the character. This one will show the name, so I'm going to call it TV name, and this one will show, well, you can choose between the mail or the number. Okay, so there's the information that we need. We're done for this row layout, and now the last thing that we will do in order to get our list view to show is a custom adapter class. Right, so what you need to do is to right click here and say new Java class. Now for this Java class, you can call it what you want. I'm going to call it contacts adapter. Click on OK. And what we need to do for this class is have it extends array adapter. So we're going to say array adapter, and the type of this array adapter will now be that custom class that we have, which is our table also in Backendless. It's called contact. Okay, so that's the array adapter. Then you will keep on getting this error, so don't worry about the error there until we have the constructor all figured out. So we're going to have a context variable here, and that's just basically what is using this specific adapter. So we'll basically use it inside of the contact list. That will be the context. And then also we'll have a private list, and that list will contain contact objects, and we're going to call it, let's call it contacts. Contacts. Come on. Okay, now that import, Alt Enter if you do not have the import there. So basically in the constructor we'll receive two things: the context, that's the class that will be using this, and the list will be the one that we get from Backendless, and we'll pass it into this method. So we're going to have a public constructor. It's going to be public contacts adapter, and what we want to accept is a context. Let's call it context as well. And we want to accept a list of contact objects. And I'm going to call it list. Right, so that's what we're going to accept when we create a new contacts adapter. We will say contacts adapter, whatever equals new contacts adapter, pass in the context and the list that we got from Backendless with all of our contacts. Okay, so now what we want to do here, very important, and that's why we still have this error, is we need to send something to the super class, which is the array adapter class. So what we need to send there is firstly the context. So I'm going to pass in the context. Second one that we need to send through is the custom layout. So our layout is called row underscore layout. So that's the one we want to pass through. So it's going to be r.layout.row underscore layout. And then the last thing that we need to pass through is this list that we passed in. And now you should not have any errors in this class. So now the next thing that we want to do in this constructor is to say that our context, this one there, should be set to the context that was passed in. And our contacts, which is this list that we have there at the top, should be set to the one that will be passed in, so that we have access to them. Okay, and now after this, you can just basically go right click, generate override methods, and make sure that you get the getView method. Double click it, and there you have the getView method. So just enter that return statement. We will return that one later on. Now for this, we need a layout inflator service. So we're going to say layout inflator equals, and we need to go to the context now that was passed in. So that will most probably, in our case, it will be the contact list that wants to use this. So it will basically be referring to the contact list and get the layout inflator service of that specific contact list. So we're going to say cast it to a layout inflator, going to context, which will refer to the contact list. And we're going to say .get system service. And the system service that we want to get is from the context class. And there's a service called layout inflator service. Now, because our data is on an external layout and not on an activities layout, that is why we need to go to use the layout inflator service to get a link to this external layout. So now the next part will be, you can either create a new view here, so you can say view whatever equals, or you can just use this convert view there. So I'm just going to use the convert view, and I'm going to set that to inflator.inflate. And now what do we want to inflate or connect to? We want to connect to r.layout.rowLayout. And the second argument will just be this view group that was passed in, which is called parent. And the last argument, you'll just set to false. Right, so now what we will return here is basically also that convert view. That's the one we'll return. So now we've got a connection with this convert view. We've got a connection to that layout. On that layout, we've got 1, 2, 3 text views. The first one is called TV char. So let's set them up. So I'm going to say text view. Let's say TV char equals. Now, instead of just saying find view by ID, you can see it doesn't even pick it up. We need to go to convert view, which has got a connection to that layout, and then say dot find the view by its ID. And the ID for that one is TV char. Right, now let's do the next one, text view again. I think I'm just going to copy and paste this. It's going to be faster maybe. So we're going to have 3 of them. The first one is TV char, this one is TV name, and that one is TV mail. Right, so we've got TV name and we've got TV mail there. So also make sure that you change it there. So this one will be TV name and that one will be TV mail. Right, so now we've set up all the components and now we need to decide what are we going to put where on this layout. So remember, for the A there, we want to actually take the name of the guy's first character. So what we're going to do here is to say on TV char, we're going to set the text to be. Now remember, this is the list of all the contacts that was passed in, and we've set that list to our contacts. So we've got directly access to it. So we're going to refer to contacts.get, and then the position where we are currently is identified by this position. So I'm going to say get position and then call get name. So that gets the name of the contact. But I'm going to convert to just make sure that the user typed that in all uppercase. I'm going to convert it to uppercase and then use the character add method to get the first character. And then I will just add some space there so it will be a string. You can also use the character class, so character.toString, and then pass all of this in there to convert it to a string. Then for the TV name, we're going to set the text to contacts, going to the list again with all the contacts, go to that specific position and just get the name. Okay, so for this one, we'll just show the character of the name, that one will show the name, and that one will show the mail. Okay, so now that's the next one, TV mail. Set text, contacts, .get, position, .get, email. And now we have all 3 of those values set and we are good to go. Right, so this is the contacts adapter. You can close the contacts adapter now, or let's just leave it open. The row layout is done. The contact list, we can close that one. Okay, so now in contact list, we've already got a link to the list. So now what we want to do next is to actually go and get the data from Backendless. So after all of these, we can just go and set up a where clause. So that will be the first thing. We will need to connect to Backendless and tell them, you know, we want to get all the context where this specific values is true. So what we want to get is where our, remember in the context or in the application class, where our user is a specific user. So back into contact list, we're going to set up a where clause, and the where clause will be where. Now if we quickly go to back to the website, on our contact table we have a user email column. So exactly that spelling, user email, is what we want here. So I'm going to say user email is equal to, and then I want to go and have a look at my user in the application class. So I'm going to say application class dot user dot get email. Now just remember that actually how we want this to be, if I can just quickly remove this, we'll type it now again. We want to have something like where the user email is equal to, and then have it in quotation marks there, and we can say something like john@gmail.com as an example. So you can see those two values, or those two single quotation marks there. Okay, so that's how we want that. So I'm going to remove it. I'm going to keep the open one there to open it up. Then we're going to have our application class dot user dot get email, and then we will need to close it also. So we'll basically say where the user email is equal to whatever the user's email that's currently logged in is. That's the contacts list, or the contacts that we want to extract. And then after that, we're going to create a data query builder, and I'm going to name it, let's say just query, or actually, let's call it query builder, equals data query builder. Come on. Data query builder dot create. Right, so that creates a new query builder for me, and then on that query builder, we can go and set a few things. We can set the where clause now, and we're going to set the where clause as the where clause that we use there. So basically, we're setting the where clause as where the user email is equal to this user email that's currently logged in. Then after that, we can also go to the query builder and set a group by. So this is how I want to sort my data. So if you look at your table there again, we've got a number, we've got a user email, we've got a name, and we've got an email. So maybe we want to sort our contacts by their names. So that's what we'll do there. Make sure you spell it exactly the same as you have it in Backendless. So I'm going to say query builder.setGroup by name, which means that every single contact in that specific contact table will be sorted by their name property. Right, now we can go and start showing the progress, and we set it to true. And also that TV load, let's give it a message, set text. And we can set it to getting all contacts, please wait. Right, so now we show the progress, we show getting all contacts, please wait, and now we can make a connection to Backendless to actually get that specific table's data for this specific user. So we're going to say Backendless.persistence again, .of, so now we need to indicate which table name do we want to get the data of, and that is contact.class. So remember that our class or our table name is contact, so that's where we want to retrieve it, contact.class. Then we're going to say .find, and you can see that we find that by using a data query builder and then going to the background. So we're going to say find. Our data query builder was called query builder, and then we just say new async callback. Right, so now at this stage you can see then that we go into the background to the contact class. We find all the contacts where this query will be met, basically where the user email is the guy that's currently logged in, and we group or set the data by its name. And now if you go into handle fault, we can just show a toast there again, show the error there, fault.getMessage to show the error message, and make sure also that you set show progress to false. Now in handle response, if everything went fine, this response, you can see it's a list of contacts. This response will be a list of contacts that we can send to our contacts adapter now and set up our data. Now, the easiest way here to do is to go and create a variable at the top for your contacts adapter. So I'm going to say contacts adapter, and then we'll set it up in coding now at the bottom. So have it as a global variable at the top, contacts adapter. You can see it's this class of ours. So it's contacts adapter, go down, and we're going to set it up here. So we'll say adapter equals new contacts adapter. And you'll remember for our constructor, we sent in the context and then a list with all the contacts. So the first one is the context, and that will just be contact list, the class that we're currently in, dot this, comma, the next argument will be the list. So this response. So we can basically pass in the response there. Let's say response. Okay. And now what we want to do then is to go to this LV list, which is the list view, and we're going to set the adapter to the adapter that we just created. And that should set your data now to the list view. So just another comment, later on we will also be able to go to the next activity and maybe edit the data and delete the data and so forth, or maybe directly call this guy or whatever we want to do with it. So then it will be important for us to have a link to this response that we had here. So I'm going to go to the application class again, and I'm going to create another variable here, static, and I'm going to add a list of type contact, and I'm going to call it, let's call it contacts. So this list will then, just add the import statement. This list will then basically have a link to all my contacts currently in the database. So here it's basically just set up. So where can we get a reference to it? By setting it here. So I'm going to say application class dot list. Let me just go back to the application class. Sorry, contacts, not list. Dot contacts equals this response that was passed in. And then we can set, instead of response there, we can say application class dot contacts. Okay, so now we get the list of all the contacts. We set that list to our list in the application class, which means that we've got access to that list throughout our whole application. And then that will be the new response. And to the contacts adapter, we're setting that contacts, and to the list view, we set the adapter. And now if we run this application, we should see all of our data from Backendless. So just remember here to say show progress false. And let's just remove this white space there. And let's see if our app works by running it quickly. Right, so there you can see the app is running, logging in this person. And then we've got, if we click on list of contacts, let's see what list of contacts will we get back, and that's John Rambo. So if I quickly go back to Firefox, you can see that I've got John R at Gmail, there's John Rambo, and the user email is Chuck. So I've got johnr@gmail.com. Let's go back there, johnr@gmail.com. So that's exactly this one user that we have online that I have displayed now here. You can see the J from the name was taken and so forth. Okay, so now let's say I create a new contact there. Let's say the contact name is Peter Pan, his contact number, and his email, peter@gmail.com, and we create a new contact. You can see that a new contact was created, Peter Pan. If I go back and I say the list of contacts, it should now be sorted, also John Rambo and Peter Pan. Just something interesting now, if I go to the user email and let's make this one chuck@gmail, just chuck@gmail instead of chuck@gmail.com, then the user email is not the same for the user that's currently logged in. So if I run this again on my emulator, go back, say list of contacts again, it will not take this person that the email is not of the current user, and it will only show me Peter Pan. If I change it back to gmail.com there, for that user, go back, refresh, list of contacts, I will see both again. So this is basically it for this video. We've got a list of all the contacts that's currently in the database, and we've got them sorted by, or basically by the name column, but we have them for every single user that logs in. So if you log in with another user account, you will not see these two contacts there because it does not belong to you.